These two sleeping bags are 100% identical. Yet this one feels cold when you sleep in it, and this one is hot. Now, how can two identical sleeping bags have such drastic temperature differences? That's what I wanted to know. And to find out, I went on a deep dive that involved some objective testing, creepy mannequins, and a cold night in the woods with a group of strangers. Stick with me because this one is going to be good. If you have ever been shopping for a sleeping bag, you've probably noticed the one all-important stat every bag has: the temperature rating. Too many people think that as long as you get this number right, you'll be fine. And I really wish it was that simple, but unfortunately for all of us, it's not. And to explain, I've come all the way out to Seattle to a company called Thermetrics to find out exactly how sleeping bags get their temperature ratings.
We'll start that test and we'll let it run for like a minute or two. And then we'll put the sleeping bag on and we can actually watch. It'll level back out and you'll watch its kind of response time and everything like that.
This is Newton. He is a really sophisticated thermal mannequin designed to accurately measure just how well a sleeping bag is able to insulate against the cold. There is a lot going on here, but on a very simplified level, this mannequin is basically a giant heater hooked up to a very sophisticated set of thermostats that are designed to keep him at the average human body temperature. Sleeping bag ratings are very carefully controlled and calculated using standards that were developed over years and years of study. But on the most basic level, the more energy it takes to maintain temperature, the less efficient a sleeping bag is at keeping you warm, and the higher its temperature rating. And this is all very fascinating, but you may be thinking, what do I care as long as the temperature rating is accurate? Well, that's the whole reason I came out here, because of this right here. Every sleeping bag that gets tested is required to be placed on top of a sleeping pad with an R value of 5, no more, no less. R value, simply stated, is how well a sleeping pad insulates. The higher the number, the more insulation the pad provides. And it's important because if you use a sleeping pad with an R value less than 5, you're not going to get the full insulation of your sleeping bag. Think about it like this. If you take this 20-degree sleeping bag and you use it inside your well-insulated house, it's going to be a whole lot warmer than if you use it outside, because the insulation of your house adds to the insulation of the sleeping bag. And since all sleeping bags are rated with a fairly warm sleeping pad underneath, it's crucial that you use the exact same setup. Or is it? Well, that's what I want to find out. How crucial is the R value of your sleeping pad? Do we all need to make sure that we have an R value of 5, or is 4.5, 3, or even 2 enough? And I'm not the only one who wanted to know. In fact, Zimbivy asked me to make this video to find out just how crucial R value really is, because they were just as curious as I was. So together, we came up with a plan to test it. We got 6 strangers of different ages and genders to meet us in the woods and gave them identical sleep setups with one big catch. Their sleeping pads were made up of 5 different layers that we had custom made just for this experiment. You see, R value can be stacked and added together. If you have 2 sleeping pads with an R value 2 and you stack them, you get a sleeping pad with an R value of 4. What we wanted was for each pad to be an R value of 1 so that we could stack 5 of them together and get a clean R5. But our custom-made pads, when they were ASTM tested, measured out to be 1.1, which wasn't exactly what we wanted, but we decided it was close enough. We took 30 of our R1.1 pads and 6 strangers out in the woods on a cold 20-degree night. We started them off with an R value of 5.5, and then once an hour removed a pad until they got down to an R value of just 1.1. Each time we removed a pad, we asked them to rate how cold they were on a 10-point scale and to pay specific attention to where the cold was coming from.
I think I'm at like a 5 or 6 now. It feels easier to tell where it's coming from now too, like it's definitely underneath.
And I fully expected to see drastic changes once we got down to R2.2 or R1.1.
I have been way colder on my Xtherm.
But was surprised when everyone was still doing relatively well.
How are we feeling?
Let's go to no pads.
You want to go no pads? Could you tell a big difference when you got down to 1?
Yeah, there's a little bit more of a difference. It wasn't unbearable, in my opinion. I mean, it's colder, but the this Zen Bevy is actually doing the lion's share of the work of keeping me warm. So
The general consensus of the group was one of surprise.
I was very surprised by the results.
I was really surprised.
I was warmer than I was expecting.
it wasn't near as miserable as I was expecting.
It was pleasant.
Pretty much the same from 3 pads down to 1 pad.
Just about everyone in the group fully expected to be colder than they felt, and most felt that they would be fine even if they had to go all night with an R value 1 pad on a 20-degree night. And this really confused me because I would never recommend an R value below 2 when temps get below freezing. So as usual, I did some freezer testing to try to figure out what exactly is going on here. I built a simple rig that would allow me to fully encase a heating pad in closed cell foam pads. I made it 5 layers thick on the bottom with 3 inches of foam on the side and placed a heating pad connected to a thermostat connected to a power meter in the middle of my rig. This way I could stack closed cell foam pads, inflatable pads, or anything else and get a good measurement of how much energy it takes for them to stay warm. And what I discovered is inflatable pads just don't perform as well as closed cell foam. This is the Thermarest X-Lite NXT. It should have about the same R value of 4 of these closed cell foam pads, but when I tested it in the freezer, it measured the same energy use as 1 or just 2 of these pads. And that was true time and time again. No matter what pad I tested, inflatable pads performed much lower than their advertised R values, which I think explains a lot from our field tests. 1 to 2 of our closed cell foam pads were the same as the X-Lite that has long been the standard for 3-season backpacking and would have been very bearable in the conditions that we tested it in. But what does this mean for sleeping pad ratings? Well, I think there are a couple things going on here. One, the way the sleeping pads get their ratings, in my opinion, is very inadequate. Pads are tested in a room temperature room with a cold plate on one side and a hot plate on the other. Very similar to the way that I'm testing these pads, except I'm just using cold air that can completely surround the pad, including the sides. Whereas on the ASTM test, the sides are open to 72-degree air that I believe is skewing the results on inflatable pads. I've said this before and I'm saying it again. I think the standard R value test needs to be rethought. But what does it mean for you and I? Well, you could start exclusively using closed cell foam, which isn't very comfortable, and I don't think very many people are going to want to do that. What I recommend is if you're going to use any type of inflatable pad, you need to go with a higher R value than you expect. For 3-season camping with potential temps around 20 degrees, I think that means an R value of 4 or higher, unless you're using closed cell foam, in which case you can probably get by with a lot less. If you are someone who uses closed cell foam, I'd love to know what your experience has been, so drop me a comment down below. Thank you to Zen Bevy for making this video possible and for providing light beds to all of the volunteers. And thank you to the volunteers because I couldn't have done this video without you. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, subscribe, and do all those other things. And as always, thanks for watching.